Hi friends, I'm excited to share a new layout with you today for the Vicki Boutin design team. I am using the Flower Emporium collection again, and I pulled out some pattern paper that has lots of beautiful flowers on it, and I will be doing fussy cutting for I think all of the flowers on this layout I will be getting from patterned paper. I did have lots and lots of flowers, but I've used them on so many layouts that I'm now down to ones that I cut out. So I do have some beautiful butterflies still left from the ephemera sets and some of these really cool leaves that I am just getting painted real quick. They are black and white, which I do love, but I did want to add some green to match some of the pattern papers that I'm going to be using. And then the colors for this layout, you can see the 4 patterned papers that are right there to the left, the pink, yellow, purple, and green. So I wanted to do a layout that really had just the 4 colors. So I wanted to kind of build quadrants of color. I'm not doing tone on tone on this layout, but I did want to have 4 main colors that kind of tie everything together. And I do think I accomplished that on this layout. So you'll see that the flowers and the ephemera and everything that I pulled out, I fussy cut pink, yellow, purple, and then I am painting some of the green leaves. I did fussy cut a few green leaves, and then I had some white leaves that I fussy cut out, and I will be doing kind of a combination of purples and pinks for those those layouts that were the flowers that were predominantly white. So they did have a little bit of coloring on them, but mostly they were kind of a creamy white color. So I'm going to get those painted. And I'm using Cosmic watercolors for this, of course. And I do end up using, I think, everything that I have pulled out there. So I also went and pulled out some pieces from the journaling ephemera bits, which is a whole nother set. So that's some of those cards that you can kind of see over there to the right. And I'm going to be using those for layering, lots of different little things there. But first I'm going to go ahead and do my background. So I knew in my mind what I was going for was I kind of wanted 2 pictures to the left and then 1 picture to the right. So I kind of wanted them to sort of be like kind of sitting at opposite angles. So I knew that my color needed to be sort of in the 4 quadrants, kind of across the middle of the layout. So you'll see that I'm going to do that here with Distress Oxides. So that the pink that I'm using is picked raspberry. And then I am using sort of the packaging technique. I'm not really like kissing the paper with the plastic. I'm more like smushing it down. I'm not using a delicate hand here. I'm really wanting to like get that color nice and spread around. And then I'm also combining that with Cosmic watercolors that I'm adding with a paintbrush. So this technique is not, I don't know, I don't think there's a lot of finesse to it. I'm really just kind of trying to, put a bunch of color on the background. And I wanted it to look sort of organic and kind of random in a very planned way. So I started with that picked raspberry, and then the green is mowed lawn. And I love that green, and it is perfect for the greens that are in the patterned papers and the ephemera that I'm using. So I'm kind of getting all of that added with the paintbrush. And it is a work in progress. I kind of like work on it a little and then go back to another section and then work on it and then go back. So I'm kind of trying to get the look that in my mind I'm going for. And it's hard to kind of tell you what that is because I knew in my mind what I wanted it to look like on the background. So I'm taking now the yellow, that is fossilized amber. I'm just kind of putting that down on a piece of packaging. And then that's going to go. And I was purposeful here about my colors. So I wanted the green and the yellow to be kind of diagonal from each other, and then the purple and the pink to be diagonal from each other. And And that in my mind just makes sense, that I wouldn't have like the purple and pink on one side and the green and the yellow on the other side, because those colors are so similar next to each other on the color wheel. So I wanted them diagonal from each other to really move the color around the page. Okay, and then for the purple, I used a combination of wilted violet and then seedless preserves. So I took both of those purple ink pads and I kind of smushed them together. Actually, I did one. I didn't smush them together because that would have gotten one of the inks on the other ink pad. So I did seedless preserves and then I did wilted violet. And then on top of that, and then here I'm using, in the Cosmic Watercolors, those two sets that I'm using right now, I have one that is like super purple, like violet purple, and then I have one that's sort of like a magenta purple between purple and pink, and so I kind of mixed all of that together. So you can see when I pull out this pattern paper right here, it is not a perfect match with the purple in the patterned paper that I have on the background, but the flowers have some more of that kind of fuchsia looking purpley pink. So once I get it all done and kind of layered together, I do think that the colors all work together. So I wanted to make sure that I had purple and yellow over here on the left side because it's the opposite side of where it is on the background. So I started with that purple and yellow layer. That is the purple is patterned paper from the 12 by 12 paper pad, and then the yellow, those little layers that I'm doing right there, that is from the journaling ephemera bits. And those pieces of journaling paper are like super thick and fantastic. So if you needed to use them, like it almost like, I kind of think they would be great in a mini album, like as a page on their own, because they're so thick and sturdy. Great quality there for sure. And then I pulled in pink patterned paper and then green patterned paper. And I'm just kind of tearing those papers and trying to layer them up kind of randomly. I want you to be able to see kind of hints of all of those papers, but you're not going to see any of them in their solid form. So they're really just going to be kind of poking out behind the photos and then all of the floral clusters that are going to be added. So I've got two photos and I am putting a layer of tissue paper behind them, and then I am putting a layer of craft foam. So those are going to be set up there. And then the photo on top is just my husband and me. And then the photo on bottom is actually a collage of 9 pictures from our dinner. So this is a date night that I am scrapping, a super sweet date night, and the story is really sweet. So this dinner, it's at a Michelin star restaurant that's here in Houston, and we had reservations at this restaurant a few years ago, and my mother-in-law ended up passing away on the night that we were supposed to go to this restaurant. So it's one of those restaurants, it's a chef's tasting menu and you have to pay ahead of time. And so we had this dinner, bought and paid for. And so we sent two of our best friends. My husband is a chef, and then his best friend is also a chef. So we sent them in our place, and then they gifted it back to us on this night that I'm scrapbooking. So they ended up making reservations for us and gifting us back the dinner, and even setting up their daughter to babysit for us. And it was super sweet. All we had to do was show up. So it was really, really kind. And I wanted it in my mind. It was such a happy kind of restoration, like, out of darkness you have light, and, out of a sad time you have beauty that comes back. So I really wanted this layout to kind of speak to that. And then also my mother-in-law that passed away, it's my husband's stepmom. She loved flowers. She was a master gardener and had her master gardening license and all of that. And so anyway, all of this, I wanted it to kind of speak to how special the memory was. So as I was jabbering away about that story, I have added lots of layers here, and then I took some of the flowers that I fussy cut and I built a cluster at the top, kind of top left of the photo. I did add in tangled thread, you can see, and then I also added in some of the hearts from the ephemera set. And these are not rub-on hearts, those are just the cardstock card stock hearts. They're almost as thick as chipboard. They're fantastic for sure. They're fantastic quality. So I layered all of that around. So I've got the cluster at the top left of those photos. I have one cluster that's kind of running along the length of the photos on the right side, or, well, the photos on the left, but to the right of those photos. And then one flower over to the left of the photos. And now I'm gonna build the other side. And you can kind of see I am trying to combine all of the colors, my 4 main colors. I wanted all of those in the layers. So now I've got a picture. So this same night we went to the wonderful dinner at the fabulous restaurant that we went to, and then Tatamo was the name of it. And then we went out after for drinks, which we never do. We never do that. We never stay out late. We never go, but it was just such a sweet night and we were still having fun. So we went to a little cute place that's here locally and had a couple of drinks, and they were having a Hawaiian night. So I'm wearing a Hawaiian lei in the photo. So that's what that other one is. So this is all the same night. And here I'm just layering up the flowers. So I had glued down these layers, but then I decided I wanted some of the flowers kind of tucked under the layers, like some behind, some in between, and then some on top. So I kind of lifted the paper with my X-Acto knife. I had to cut through the glue that was behind the pattern paper and tucked in a flower there. But no worries, because I had distressed the edges of those already anyway, so it didn't matter. It did rip a little bit, but no problem. It looked like I did it on purpose, because I often do rip paper on purpose. So I'm going to add some clusters there. I did want to find a way to add all of those. I think that big purple flower I might not have ended up using. But I do get this pink butterfly up there. And butterflies, my mother-in-law had a butterfly garden as well. And butterflies always to me signify new life. So I thought it was important for those to be on here. Okay, and then the title is going to come from the puffy sticker sheet from the Flower Emporium collection. And I'm gonna pull off the word heart, that's in black. So it's a black puffy sticker. And then I'm gonna pull off the word big. And that's like yellow that's bordered in black. So it's gonna say big heart is gonna be my title. Because so many reasons, but really because I thought it was such a big show of love that our friends gifted us back this night when they didn't have to. We had no expectation that they would do that. It was just, they're such sweet friends. So they wanted to, and that was really precious to me. So Big Heart was a great title for that. And then also just because I love my husband so much. And there was a lot of heart involved in just the memory of restoring happiness. So I'm going to have a few hearts tucked in on the right side as well. I'm trying to see what I'm doing here. Oh, I was adding a heart over there to the left, to the right. Sorry, I've got my directions all mixed up tonight. I'm tired. My brain is having trouble keeping up. And I did, of course, in all of the clusters, I have tangled thread. And I pulled out pink, yellow, and purple. So I don't think I used any green thread. I think I just used those 3 colors. I might have actually used green up on the top. Well, I don't know. We'll see in the close-ups. I can't remember. So I wanted to make sure that the title was in line. Everything is kind of offset. So I wanted the title to be in line with the photo. So that photo that's kind of above there, I wanted the title to kind of follow that same angle. And then I had my journaling lines also follow that same angle. So I added lots of journaling lines here. I had a lot to say about this night. You can see I ended up, I think, having to go back and add journaling lines several times. And then once I was finished, the middle of the two photo clusters, it was a little too clean right there in the middle, like where I had the yellow and the pink meeting, because I really wanted all of those 4 colors coming together. So I just went and added some big dollops of paint pretty much all around just to kind of blend all of those colors. So you definitely still see the 4 quadrants of color. You can see the pink, the green, the yellow, and the purple. But I went back and added drops and splatters of the contrasting colors to make it a little messier and to make sure all of those colors were seen in all of the areas of the layout. All right, and I did cover up, you can see there, I just used like some scraps of white paper to cover up my photos while I was splattering. Sometimes I don't do that and I end up regretting it because I get paint everywhere. So it's usually fine. I either reprint the photo or just go with it. But this time I thought I should probably cover them up, and so I did that. And then here I pulled out my half pearls and crystals, and I added those to each of the centers of the flowers and then in little clusters around. And of course I used the same 4 colors. So the pink, green, yellow, and purple. And I definitely think this adds a lot of good detailing to paper flowers for sure when I add the pops of color and then the little half pearls and crystals and things. And that is the final layout. So I've got lots of close-ups here to show you all of the details and how I kind of tucked everything in. You can see all those different layers and the thread. And I love how this ended up turning out, and what a sweet memory it is. And it will always be in our family scrapbook. If you have any questions about the process, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have an awesome day. Bye.